Hey everybody, today we're having Katie of Lotus Way on. Mila and I just got done with, and let's get her on. Let's invite her. What's her?
I think it's Lotus Way.
Lotus Way.
There it is.
Katie, we invited you. Yeah, Mila and I are in Miami right now. We're taking this really interesting course called um, Wolf Practitioner Course and Wolf Non-Surgical. It's using It's using the elbow to break up scar tissue and adhesions in the body, and it's combined with a focus on healing the bowel, the king of all organs, and it's been super fascinating.
Looks like
Okay,
Katie
Katie joined, so let me see if we can just get her on here. Go.
And we already sent her the request. Okay, she requested. Amazing. Let's see if it'll connect here. Accept.
Okay, come on, Katie. Come on, join us.
Jana joined. Hi, Jana. Jana is also a fan of the Lotus Way products. We are absolutely obsessed.
Lotus Way is unable to join. Let's try again, Katie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna invite you, Katie, and if you could try to accept the invite.
Yeah, if we need to.
There we go. There we go. Hey, hey.
Hey,
Hi, Grand Rising.
Yeah, Grand Rising. What's up, Katie?
good to see you guys. You look sparkly.
Yeah,
Basking in the glow.
we're so glowy, and our bowels are glowy too. We just got off of a 6-day watermelon cleanse.
Whoa. No
Yeah,
wonder.
it's really magical. My bowel is just like woo.
Oh yeah, you got the glow too, girl.
I got it. Yeah, Taylor and I have been in the editing cave for editing the season 2 for Flower Hunters, and so our eyes are just like locked into the computer for hours and hours and hours. This is so helpful. Thank you so much.
Worst.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
And before we get started, as we do before we go live or for any of Brian's podcasts, even before we met you, we were utilizing your products to ground, to elevate at the same time, even though that sounds juxtaposed. Uh, they're amazing products. We have been so obsessed with the Lotus Way long before we met Katie, and we had the privilege of finally meeting you this year when we were in your neck of the woods in Phoenix. And what a pleasure. And we had every expectation that we would just fall in love with you, but you exceeded our expectations. And we're just so inspired by what you're doing in the world and wanted to have you on so that you could share your story about why you're doing what you're doing and how really there's so much synergy in what we believe our missions are as brands. And it's just bringing alchemy of different kinds, whether it's flower essences or light, to help elevate humanity and help them remember who we are. So this is Katie, everyone. Welcome her.
Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you guys when you were here. That was so much fun. I think we spent how many like hours together, huh?
Yeah. We were like, yeah, we'll stop by for an hour, and then like 3.5 hours later.
So much fun. It's so nice to meet people who are just like instantly you're on the same wavelength. I love it.
Yeah, it was so effortless. We even reflected on that, how it's interesting when you are on a similar vibration and there's no end to the connection. It just could keep going until you're like, okay, let's give it a rest until next time.
Yeah, and your products really drew me in long before I met you. I first encountered your product at Alive and Well in Dallas, and it was just over there on the wall, and it was like the design was so beautiful, and then somebody mentioned something about it there, and we tried it, and we were just like, whoa, this is like so much cooler than just a sage spray or something like that, and we was really floored.
We bought like 6
We
different
bought a bunch of
essences.
things. We didn't know about the flower quiz or any of that, so we just kind of went intuitively for it. And what's interesting, I'd like you to go into this, into what you do and your approach, is that later after I met you, or when we met, I took the flower quiz and it guided me to the same flower essence blends that you make that I intuitively selected when I first saw them. So that just it just really floored me how um, just how powerful they are, and how like that those are the ones that drew me, because you have so many options. So yeah, tell us about yourself. How are you healing the world with flowers? Like, what's going on? What is Lotus Way?
And why'd you get started?
Yeah, I mean, I got started because I stumbled on this whole concept of flower essences when I was traveling, and I met an expert from Spain, and he said that if we could get 3% of the world's population taking flower essences, it would change the future of the planet. And I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. You know, because we always want to help, all of us want to help, but it's like, how? How do we help? And then I think sometimes we look at all the problems in the world and the chaos and the craziness, and we think, how could I, like one little person, make a difference, you know? And so his idea of like the ripple effect, and that we, you know, a few of us could make such a massive impact on the planet. And I was like, I'm hooked. And then he was also teaching like every flower on the planet has like a benefit for us emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's like unlocking something inside of us. And I felt that same kind of like what you said, Mila, with like this endless, infinite relationship of, man, I could be working with these flowers for the rest of my life, and there's no end to it, to this like constant accelerated evolution and spiritual growth. So I came back to the United States, and that was a long time ago. That was like before meditation was cool, before yoga was cool. So it's been a long road, and I'm so, so grateful that the world is in the place that it is, that people are so much more open, that people are looking for ways to grow, right? And to like evolve into who we're really meant to be here in the world. And if anybody out there doesn't understand the concept of flower essences, it's different from essential oils in that it's not the scent part, it's the life force or the chi or the energy of a flower. And a plant will concentrate the most light energy into the flower because it's the reproductive organs. So essentially, we're gathering that life force, we're putting it into water, which stores information, right? Like every cluster of water can hold 44,000 pieces of information. So we're simply just like infusing the water with these powerful frequencies from Mother Nature, and then stabilizing them with alcohol. And the net effect is, if you just put it anywhere in or around your body, you know, your body of light, it's like introducing a very subtle electricity to balance whatever is out of balance in your body, or to amplify something. So we're like walking crystals, and we amplify things. So when that energy from the flower comes into our field, it instantly moves at the speed of light through all of our meridians, nadis, and chakras, and kicks out any stagnancy. And then we could, I mean, there's so much we could talk about. We could talk about cellular memory and ancestral trauma and all the experiences that we've had in life. And essentially, it's like dissolving in your DNA, in your cellular memory, anything that's not you, right? So the filters that we see reality, you know, we project things based on our past experiences, or up to 7 to 8 generations back in our family lineage. So
Yeah, let's
essentially,
let's talk about that a
yeah.
little bit. That's really fascinating. So yeah, you're all of us are controlled by our subconscious programming.
Mhm.
And probably 90 to 100% of our subconscious programming comes when we're 0 to 7 years old. You know, we're in this theta state, and we're just these sponges. And we may think that we're conscious of what we think, how we feel,
Mhm.
but the reality is we start out life, definitely, at least in the modern world, with a lot of programs and truths that are really not ours. And a part of our path in life back to our authentic selves is looking at how do we think, what are our habits, what are we doing, and what is really us, you know, and what isn't. And for me, I think that's what drew me to your one of the things that drew me to your product was it's so it's so powerful and so simple. You know, it's just this flower spray. It's not a supplement. It's not like this biohacking thing. It's just a subtle input into the body, but of such high frequency, such pure information, such pure like frequency that this stuff is like really powerful.
It is. I think we underestimate it. You know, we look at a beautiful flower and it's just like sitting there. It's not moving. It's not talking. So we tend to overlook it in all our busyness. But our bodies know that language of communication. You know, since we were little, since we were placed here or came out here, our bodies already know automatically how to communicate with the botanical world. We already speak that language. It's just not a verbal language. We feel it. When we're in the wild, we feel that sort of sense of euphoria from being in nature. And it's not just the oxygen. So we don't feel that way if we go to an oxygen bar, you know? Um, so yeah, when you're talking about the 90% of experiences that we have, you know, from 0 to 7, I think for so many of us, it's hard to see in our blind spots. Like we understand blind spots from driving in a car. Everybody has them. And it's the same with our character, our habits, the way we see the world. We just like going along as normal, but then all of a sudden, if you're working with a certain flower, all of a sudden you can see something about yourself that you didn't see before, which is so fascinating. Like we're not these like static creatures, right? We're constantly changing. And to pick up something in yourself that you've never seen before is like, whoa. And then it becomes not just a world of flowers, it's a world of in here and what the flowers are illuminating inside of you. And then all of a sudden, when you can see this new aspect of yourself, it's like, okay, is this serving me? Is this not serving me? Or how do I transform this into something that is really beneficial?
Yeah, and just to kind of ground this on a little bit more on a physiological level, the body is 70% water by weight. It's actually over 90% volumetrically water. So it's one of the big, you know, it's one of the predominant things that's in our body, and water is a liquid crystal. So like you mentioned earlier, it holds information. And when we enjoy these flower essences, it's programming us at this like very fundamental quantum level. You know, we think that, you know, we're all of our who we are is kind of in our brain, but our personality is actually reflected in all of the cells of our body. And so when we experience your flower essences, it's going into the water, which is in every cell of our body, and it's telling all of our body from the ground up, not just our brain, hey, there's something more to you. You know, there's something deeper here. There's actually something that you need to remember. And that's always been for me like being your authentic self has a huge component of being in the present. We're all trying to be present, and yet we're always kind of stuck in the future or the past. But the flowers, they just have such a they're just such a powerful wake up call for me. Like it's not just when I do podcasts and stuff like that. It's throughout the day.
Well, it's so funny because when we first found your products, we loved them so much. We were like cherishing them and like only utilizing them when we really wanted to be in line. Like, which is funny because it's like we should have that urge more on a regular basis. And so it was fascinating when you shared with us the way that you recommend to utilize your flower essences to really embody the intelligence of what the blends are offering. So I would love for you to share a little bit about that and like how you recommend working with them and why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I always tell people like they're precious, but don't use them as precious. Like you be reckless. Like be absolutely, this is the thing you want to be just like reckless with and allow your intuition to guide you. The more we can learn how to trust our intuition, the better off we are. And this is such a great practice in that of when do I need something? When do I need something to give me a lift? And knowing that you're drawn to the specific flowers that you're drawn to because those are the keys that will unlock the next part of your healing. And I'm just gonna, I wanted to talk about the bees for a second because I think when we think of flowers, we think of bees, and bees, actually, they've shown in studies that bees and flowers communicate. So that there's, the little subtle electricity that's being emitted from the flowers, the bees can actually perceive that and the little hairs on their legs. And so
Mm.
there's this, dynamic communication happening between the bees and the flowers. And they've shown recently in studies that the bees themselves, with like their vibratory quality, with their wings, can heal TBIs, like
Wow.
traumatic brain injury. So I have a friend who's a veteran in Texas, and he's putting together like a giant bee house where you can actually go inside and sit among all of the beehives and just experience the vibrations of their wings and their bodies, to heal traumatic brain injury. And so you think like, oh, there's this whole world of things that is happening around us. That's what keeps our food source going, is bees and flowers and pollination, right? And so there's so much magic around the world of bees, and then the fact that they communicate with flowers, and that there's this subtle electricity being emitted from the flowers, and that there's this understanding happening between the two of them, is just totally fascinating. And I was thinking, as you guys were talking, studies have also shown that the heart is incapable of pumping blood through the body. Like, we tend to think of the heart as a pump, right? Because it's like thumping. But it's scientifically, it doesn't have the strength or capacity to actually like pump the blood. We're more of an electromagnetic field, right? That is magnetically moving fluids and liquids and the crystalline structures, like you were saying, Brian. So we're much more these beings of light than like a physical flesh being that we think. And
Mhm.
so to answer your question, Mila, if I tend to think of it as like, imagine you're like projecting an image on the wall. You're doing a presentation or something. And Brian's giving a talk. You're at the like projector. And if there's something at the screen, Brian would never say, "Hey Mila," like he would never like scrub the wall. He would say, "Hey Mila, can you like see what the obstruction is on the projector?" So the same as our physical body is the screen,
Mm.
and all of this electromagnetic light energy, you could call it an aura, you can call it an energetic field or an electromagnetic field. That's what's doing the projection onto the screen here. So by the time we have a physical imbalance, a headache or a stomach ache, something has already moved its way through the subtle bodies to manifest itself as a red flag. Oh, something is happening here, right? Something's out of balance. So the key with flower essences is they're preventing like this whole slew of physical imbalances in the future, because what you're doing is you're going all the way to the root cause of what is the emotional, mental, or energetic pattern that's causing whatever's happening on the physical body. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. That so resonates with the course that we just finished. We just finished this Wolf Practitioner course, and that was one of the main teachings of the course, is that all physiological symptoms are rooted in the emotional body. You know, our spiritual body, our emotional body first has the imbalance of sometimes some incoherence. And if it's not addressed, in the moment, like for example, you should only experience an emotion for 30 seconds. And if you have like a super drama triangle, it's maybe like 90 seconds, but that's it. If, however, we don't process that emotion, it manifests in the body physically. And then we do have a physical issue that we need to address on a physical level. But that's what I love about what you just said. Like, instead of treating things just on a physical level, what if we could address things on an electrical, energetic level and just not have the problem in the first place? Like, it's so powerful. And I also wanted to circle back just to, again, ground what you said about the heart. So the body has like 10,000 miles of arteries, veins, venules, like the blood flow. The heart absolutely is not a mechanical pump. It's an electromagnet. And all of the blood vessels of our body have electrolyzed gel, which is structured water. So it's water in a gel-like state, also called the fourth state of water. And that coats all the insides of all the blood vessels. And so when the blood, which is mostly water, flows down the blood vessels and all the water in the blood is structured, it flows electrostatically, like without any resistance. So there's just that. It's like, whoa, our physical body is so much more than we think it is. And then it's the same thing at the cellular level. Like our cells have their own little personalities and their own brains, and so do our organs. And when we hold these emotions in our tissues, like the liver tends to hold anger, and the heart tends to hold like loss or sadness or grief. And when we experience these things because of subconscious negative patterns and negative emotional beliefs, we eventually get a heart problem. We eventually get a fatty liver or whatever, and things get messed up. But going back to what you're saying, flowers are such a this flower essences, these flower hydrosols, is such a higher order tool to address problems at the highest level of the human body, like this vibrational, subtle, energetic body level, before it even becomes a problem.
Well, and even to add on to that, I I love recognizing that bioenergetic field, which really is like a projector of our own energy. So not only are we embodying it, but it's projecting outward, and that's how we're interacting with the world, and that's how we're being perceived. And that's often what we get reflected back to us too.
Yeah,
So
people say when they're working with flower essences for the first time, they say that in the first month, they just feel like, something feels different. Like, oh, that used to piss me off, but it's not. Or I like something that used to irritate me isn't. Or they're hearing the birds sing, or like there's just like a lightness. And then somewhere, if they're consistent, like using them really regularly, somewhere around month 3 or 4, you see what happens in people's lives when their outer world starts reflecting something back differently in proportion to the changes that are happening internally, right? Because all of this in here is like shifting, 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 shifting. We're getting these insights. And then all of a sudden the outer world is like, oh, maybe I don't need that friendship. Or like, oh, I met somebody new. This person's really cool. Or maybe I need to not be in this job. Or maybe I need to take on this other form of work. Or maybe I need to move to a different place. You see the shifts happening in the outer world as well as a reflection.
yeah, and I think that's part of what this mission is for us is the remembering. It's the embodiment of our true essence, our true frequency, and how that does reflect in our outer world and it impacts others when it start like once you start with yourself. I was thinking about the first time that we met. It's like why do you have the certain feeling when you are around other people? Like I think people could probably feel it just from the way you carry yourself and how you speak on this video. There's like this really calm, graceful, grounded embodiment that you carry where like immediately when I'm in your frequency and your feel, it's like, whoa, like I am impacted by it. And so when we're all embodying our own unique true frequency, I really feel like that's where where the world starts to change. We hear it all the time that yeah, it starts from within, but this is just one way to understand it a little bit more tangibly.
All the best things in life can't be seen, you know? Like the really most profound best things aren't seen. One of those being love. Like if we could see the love that is between you two, but we can feel it, but it's not like there's a cold light, right? So that's one example. And then also like the love from Mother Nature in this form of energy. And yeah, I think what's really fascinating is when you see that ripple effect start to occur. So, for example, we get people here and they're like, oh, well, how do I get my husband to do this? Or how do I get my wife to do this? Or how do I get my partner to do this? And the answer is you start with you. If one person in every family in this country is working with flower essences, the entire family changes. The whole country would change. Um, because there is that ripple effect because of what you're saying. We're not in this like little bubble. We're constantly impacting. We feel when someone comes into the room and they're like exploding with joy. It's contagious, right? And I think, when I mentioned earlier that my flower essence teacher kind of hooked me in with that 3% line, if 3% of the world were using flower essences. And I think I didn't really understand then. It sounded really cool, but it wasn't until 2020 that I was like, oh, now I understand what contagious emotion looks like. That it can change whole nations, it can change behaviors, it can change rules and mandates and all kinds of things, right? And it can spread like wildfire. And then I became very rooted in my sense of, okay, now I understand what I'm here to do, is to spread contagious joy and to spread contagious empowerment and fearlessness and truth, and allowing people in whatever form it looks like for each individual to liberate the full expression of their being. And that is how we change the world, is, first with ourselves, and then it ripples out, and then that is how the greatest changes occur in the world. We think, I have to go out there and do, and I have to do so much. And actually the most powerful form of transforming the world is from the inside out. And you see, it's even trippier, and I think you guys will follow me on this. I had clients come to me like over 10 years ago when all this quantum physics stuff wasn't even really in the collective consciousness. And they were like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I think this ripple effect is actually happening in my family that I don't see often, right? Because we think of like ripple effect as tending to be like who I'm around the most, right? Like tell me who are the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I'll tell you who you'll be in the future, right? So that's an energetic thing. But there's this also quantum physics thing happening where, my clients were coming in saying, I feel like my brother is changing, but I only see him once a year. And so then you realize, like, and then she was saying, this one particular client was like, she had been on flower essences for 10 years. And she said, my brother went sober. Then my other brother, this happened. And none of us got along with our stepmom. And now we all went for a cruise and everyone got along. And she was just like, I think I'm instigating this massive familial change from a distance because of what's happening in my energetic body. And it's kind of mind-blowing. But if you think, if we're that powerful, what are we not capable of? And they've actually done 10-year longitudinal studies on that in Boston, where they looked at, if you become wildly happy, it has more of a beneficial effect on your friend's friend's friend, so this is someone you don't know, than if someone put $5,000 cash in their pocket. Actually, the study was 1,000, but with inflation, it'd be about 5,000 right now. So that means that right now, in this very moment, our state of mind is simultaneously, spontaneously impacting people that we don't even know, that we haven't even yet met. And then there's the study showed that there is actually an even amplified effect physically. So you may be impacting your neighbors more because you're in physical proximity. But you're also like, I think of like Facebook, your friend's friend's friend, you've got all these concentric circles of we're 1 degree away from everybody. So what we're feeling in this very moment could be, somebody down the road, some guy retired from his job and he's like, what's my deal? What's my purpose? He's mowing the lawn. He's feeling depressed. And like Mila is dancing naked in her bedroom. And, Brian's inventing the next technology and just like super geeked out, and like all of this joy that's being emitted, he gets this like wave of like, oh, sometimes how we feel that just like lift, like, oh, I feel good right now. Maybe things aren't as bad as I thought. And that's how much power we actually have as human beings. I think we forget that sometimes. We are that powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. This ripple effect that you mentioned, it's not just in the examples that you're giving. It's this concept applies to all of our reality. Like with water, if you if you just put like 1 inch of structured water in a cup and then you fill up the rest of it, like good structured water, and then you fill the rest of the cup up with tap water, which is not structured, immediately all the water in the glass is structured. If you smile, even if you don't have a reason maybe to smile, when you smile, you it causes an immediate release of oxytocin in your body, and that makes you feel like happy and connected, like all the cells of your body. So there are so many ways where we can use just 3% of our power, right? And have this like dramatic impact just on where we are in the moment. And your example of the flowers is like, absolutely, it comes back to us waking up and remembering who we are and being our authentic self. And probably the core of that is, this may sound controversial, it's unconditional love. It's loving every aspect of, honoring, loving, and respecting every aspect of you and everything you've done, are, and will be. And anytime we walk around, and there's something that irritates us or angers us, that's reflecting within us a part of ourselves that we don't quite honor or love like fully yet. So, I mean, it's so beautiful what you're saying. So many people are seeking emotional healing and seeking like a way to relieve this burden on themselves. And there are some very powerful things out there, like, our products are, sit in the sauna space, sit with the glow light for a while, do some breath work. There's definitely different experiences out there that access that. But the flowers are just like so amazing on how they're working in the same way with this ripple effect, but really just on a subtle level. And for me, what I love about it is you're not even really doing anything. It's not a time commitment. It's not an energetic commitment. You just have your little spray bottle and your dropper with you. Like for me, this is like some pro tips. Have it right next to where you're working, right at your computer. And then for me, it's like every time I look at it, I grab it. Because I remember and I want to make sure everybody understands that. So when we met you, you said, no, you need to use it like at least 5 times a day, not once a day, just recklessly, using it all the time. And for me, it's been essential to just have that right near me. And so for us, we went to the Tucson Gem Show, right? And we got some, it was so fun. And Mila found at the end these little tea candle holders made
of. We're inspired by what we saw visiting you. We saw you right before we went to the show.
So we saw these. We bought like 12 of them. So we have our Lotus Way sprays like all over the house. So whenever you're walking by, oh, there it is, and you grab it, and that really shifted things for us to where we are using it recklessly all the time, and there's definitely shifts that are going on. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about what you offer, like 1, the flower quiz, and 2, this idea that you start out with one product that you have, and then you kind of slowly graduate, and there's kind of like different levels that you've developed, because you're not just randomly putting flowers together. You have really a beautiful strategy and an architecture that you've created. So if you could explain that.
Yeah, and I think that what you said about love is such a perfect segue, because I think, especially in our culture, we tend to think we have to like do something about these emotions, or like stuff them or get rid of them or be nice, or, what do we do with all this intense emotion? And, it's just having like a simple like mist or an elixir or something that you can do for yourself is that like self-love. Like, I can love myself even though I'm feeling this way, right? Because we want to be, I think we want to be perfect, or we don't know what to do with all this. We don't really have any coping mechanisms. So the flowers are such a perfect way. And the way that we've structured the system is, there's like level 1 is all the things we want right now. It's like the acute, if you're familiar with homeopathy, it would be like 6X. So like, I want to feel love. I want to feel happiness. I want to laugh again. I want to sleep. I want to have energy. And I want to be able to get things done. It's like just fundamentally what all of us need. And I want to feel calm because I'm super stressed. From there, once the body stabilizes energetically, it goes into level 2, which is what are the things that we want to explore now that we're like feeling really stable in our nervous systems. Maybe the things that we don't really like talking about, but we can explore them internally, like rejection, betrayal, do I belong, past traumas, am I allowed to speak my truth? What happens if I get angry? What happens if I express anger? And then from there we go into like, and then a lot of those have to do with like relationship with others, like how we are in relationship with others. And then level 3 is more like how we are in relationship to like the entire community or to like strangers even. So can we allow ourselves to receive support? Can we allow ourselves to receive nourishment? Can we trust that we know our way, even if we don't know what the way is logically? And then from there, there's like sacred, which is revitalizing your physical body, boosting your natural ability to heal, healing old grief that's stuck in the body. And then sacred awareness is like neurological system, your electrical system, your intuition. How quickly are you able to tap into, I don't like I want to say this in a woo-woo way, but it's like an energy grid or like a network. Let's say you're going to give a talk in front of 1,000 people, and maybe it's like 1,000 plumbers. And you're like, how do I deliver this message about SaunaSpace to 1,000 plumbers? I obviously need to speak it in their language. It will speed up your ability to like energetically tap into their consciousness so that you can say what they need to hear in a way they need to hear it. And then we move to the divine, which is all about how much can we nourish ourselves? How much can we love all parts of ourselves? How much can we dissolve old shame or embarrassment or, all of those little funny spaces, even something as silly as like, oh, I gotta pee. And then hours go by and we're like, God, I didn't go to the bathroom. Or like, geez, I'm starving for lunch. And then 3 hours go by and we're like, what am I still doing here in the office? Like, I haven't had lunch. So all these ways that we don't make ourselves priority, refocusing right to that vehicle. And then from there, it's about how much are we able to tell our truth, even if it's a difficult truth, even if it might create conflict or be really radical. I remember we talked about that when you guys were here, about using that in teams and like work teams and having people tell the truth. And then there's like the legacy piece, like what do I want to create in my life before I die and how can I build a team around that? And then from there we go to awaken, which is about uprooting and unearthing any and all really deep subconscious fears that we don't even have any idea are there. So that's kind of like the trajectory of experience, and people can come in at any point along the way to get support.
It's interesting. The sacred awareness has been the go-to for Brian even before the flower quiz, and that's the one particularly that he was his go-to before speaking in front of an audience. Which I love that.
Yeah, the first
Just
one.
so line.
So interested. And for me, this whole time, that one, and another one, and when I took your flower quiz, which I'd like you to explain,
Oh, that's right.
for me, the cacao flower came up really strongly, and I've taken it a couple times now, and it always comes up. Could you talk about the cacao flower a little bit, and then don't forget, tell us like the flower quiz.
Mm-hmm. So the cacao flower is that kind of what I was talking about before of like nurturing your own needs. And it can be very basic and physical. Like I feel like moving, but I'm like stuck in this little crunch working on a project. Rather than really getting into your mind and staying in that crunch, there's like a little bit of space and you can observe like, oh, my body needs movement, or like I need to go to the bathroom. I need to eat, or I need sunlight, or I need to ground, or there's something that my system needs. And for some reason we have this habit of, it could be all different kinds of things. Maybe we got praised as a kid for doing something good, and that like really made us feel good. And now we do that with ourselves. Like, I'm going to get this done and I'm going to get this done. Or maybe we come from an ancestry, like I come from German ancestry. So like, Germans are like productivity. How much can you accomplish? Right? So it's like, so you can get stuck in a loop of just like doing, 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 doing. And we forget that being, and that this is also a bit vessel we have to take care of. So I would say if you're consistently drawn to cacao flower, it likely means that you have a tendency to forget about your physical form and to
Mm.
forget that you actually need nourishment, and that it's okay to like crave chicken livers or oysters or funny stuff that your body needs, or sunlight, or and to the thing I should say is what all flower essences do is they create just a little bit of space between our habitual pattern and uh, like our reaction. So there's like a little bit of space. So let's say, you're crunched at work, and then there's that like your consciousness like pulls back. Oh, I need something right now. What is it that I need? And I can allow myself to have that nourishment, right? That's specifically cacao flower. If you were talking about um, a flower for anger, right? It could be that in the moment that like rage starts to arise, there's just a little more space between you and it, and you're going, oh, look at that anger arise. Whoa, that's interesting. And then it's not that you're like in the fire, you're observing the fire. So we're consistently getting better at like observing the patterns, because the issue is like we think that we are those things, but that's actually not us, right? We're not our thoughts, we are not our emotions, we're not our patterns and our habits. So the more we can just, even like the slightest little like space to see what's arising, we can actually have a sense of humor about it, because it's hard to think things are funny when we think it's us, right? Because if I think I'm angry and it's ugly and Brian and Mila aren't going to like me because I'm angry, but then if there's like that little bit of space, like, oh, that's anger. Everybody feels anger. That's kind of funny. Like, I'm angry right now. That's kind of funny. We can like laugh about it, right? Because we all feel it. And the beauty of the quiz is that for the last 25 years, I have been in really deep relationship with hundreds of different flowers. So I've gone out into the wild. I've looked for rare flowers. I've looked for common flowers. I've looked for flowers in many, many different countries and continents, and had a conversation with them, let's say, and figured out what each flower is for. And then we work with a group of anywhere from 200 to 400 people to corroborate and make sure that the information I'm receiving is indeed what this flower induces in a human being or in an environment. So all of these things have been tested over the last 25 years. Now no one needs to do that work. It's already been done. At least with those specific flowers, you can lay out all the photographs of those flowers. Or if you were in a garden, you could see all of them in the reel. And then just say, like, which one am I drawn to? Which one am I attracted to? Which one's speaking to me? And you can trust that your system, in its awareness and knowingness of speaking the language of nature already, it's innate within us. You just move towards whatever, and you're going to have, mentally we'll have all these ideas about, well, it's the color, it's the shape, it's, how it grows, or like, surely everybody loves this one because this is the coolest one, but everybody has that feeling about a different flower. So if you just move toward whatever your senses are, it's like moving towards the light. I imagine like if you have a red light in the room, let's say everybody on computers, and you just like, we should do an experiment. We just like place red lights in like giant corporate centers where people are on their computers all day long with fluorescent lights and like no breaks outside. And just like put a red light there. Guaranteed everybody's going to be drawn to this thing. What is this? Oh, what is this? Oh, it feels warm. Oh, it's nice. Oh, I love this. What is this? And the same thing if you have fresh flowers. Your eye immediately goes to the live flower in the room. And you can trust your eyes, you can trust your ears, you can trust your senses to pull you in a direction, because you actually know what you need for healing. You know what the precise unlocks to awakening your fullest potential are in this moment. If we're like, onions and layers of stuff, and like we got to move this layer before we can get to that layer, and we have to look at this thing before we're going to get to this really deeper thing. We know that already. Like our system on some level knows that. So we'll naturally be drawn to whatever will show us our blind spot or some kind of insight or wisdom about ourselves that will never show us too much that we can't handle, because we innately know, even though which is like the coolest part of this whole process is like, you actually can trust yourself. It's like putting the power back in your hands. You don't need someone in a white coat. You don't need me. You don't need a practitioner. You don't need anyone. It's like you are the master. And man, it's like kind of a relief to feel that in your body, in the cells of your body. It's like, actually, I am the master, right? It feels good to like tap into that part of ourselves that is so wise, so knowing, so vast. We don't have to rely on this little talking box up here in our brain. We're actually tapping into that part of ourselves, and we can trust it. Even if we don't understand it, we can trust it, that it leads us in the right direction for our own healing and awakening.
Yeah, I I love the remembering to tap into the knowing. Some will call it the Holy Spirit, some will call it intuition, some will just call it the like direct channel to source creator of all that is. And that intuition, when we start to peel back the things that aren't us, gets stronger and stronger, and you see it reflected with like pets. So in a way, I feel like we've already had this experiment just with our clientele. Over and over again, we're getting pictures of their dogs, their cats, their birds, who are just like coming straight to the light. Like they love the light because they know what's good for them. And we like to mentalize sometimes, like, oh, is this good? Is this bad? It's like, how long is too much? And like we want this regimen, and it's like they're connected to their intuition. They're connected to nature in a lot less distracted way. So like they know. And the same happens too. Anytime there's a family gathering and we've got one of our lights on in the corner, or in any of the spaces that utilize our lights, it's interesting to just observe, like naturally, where there's after, especially after dark, where there's a lot of like the fluorescent, more toxic modern lighting, and everyone will like start slowly gravitating towards like the glow or the hearth. Just because that's where the nervous system like feels like like this is where I'm supposed to naturally be, especially at this time of day. So yeah, I love that.
Keep going to the
Yeah.
campfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to take this even a little further, the inner knowing and our intuition is that part of our true selves, our authentic selves. And the brain is just a processor. It's an analyzer. It's a very powerful tool. But where is the actual information? And consider for a second that there's no information actually in the brain at all. The information is in the field. So it's in all of the universe and the reality. And when we have that, when we're calm, and the flower essences are helping, we step back into our true selves, and we have those intuitive moments, those inner knowings where, oh, I don't know why, but this is something that I need to do, or something I need to shift. Where those are moments where we're connected, like in an almost unlimited sense, maybe even totally unlimited sense, to all of reality, all of the universe, and we're pulling in whatever information we need to peel the onion at that point. So I say that because everybody has this power. We've taught in the modern world to give away our power. First is to our parents and to our friends and our teachers in school, and then it's to our partners later in life, and all this time there's nothing actually outside of us that we need. We have everything that we need when we come from a place of unconditional love, and we're honoring and respecting ourselves. We know we need to eat. We know we need to rest. We know we need to get active and make a move and have a seismic shift. We know we need to be calm. And that's something that I'm observing. You mentioned like how there wasn't a lot of like quantum consciousness of quantum science, quantum energy, quantum healing like 20 years ago, for sure. I feel like now that we're here, and we're more tapped into that. There's a deeper shift that's going on where now we're really stepping into tapping into our inner knowing and realizing, oh, so if reality is all quantum and based on like electromagnetism and connection, maybe we are limitless. Maybe we can actually totally heal ourselves, not even in a physical way. Let's just, totally heal ourselves energetically and emotionally and become extremely happy, vibrant, limitless, and and that the physical medicine, the physical tools are sort of an adjunct. There's this thing on the side that we do to support our fundamental healing process, which is it's in the subtle field. It's not even in the physical body. And I wanted to mention real quick, because you mentioned at the beginning, you mentioned it again. So our glow light, which we have with us here, is an incandescent uh, powered light. So it's a full spectrum light like the sun, but there's no blue light and there's no flickering. So you can sit with this, as you mentioned, next to the computer, and it cancels out blue light. So when we're indoors and we have all this crappy LED light, it's a big reason why we're drawn to it, because it's like reminding us, oh my God, I'm a light being, and that's the light that I love.
And I would almost go as far as saying that it transforms the light that we're receiving. So not just blocking, but it actually like creates this much more cohesive light that we're receiving, even in the presence of like a strong, spiky blue toxic light. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I know we need to wrap up soon. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the fire horse here.
And note to the feng shui offering that you also offer with your team that has been
Okay, so yeah,
So
absolutely.
much.
Start out with that.
so maybe like 2 minutes on each.
Yeah, make it short, but tell us
Okay.
about this feng shui stuff, and then break down really quickly what is the fire horse here? What's the impact for
Okay.
everybody?
And there's something else that I have to say based on what you said before, really short. Our bodies are seeking coherence. So on one hand, we can trust that we're always seeking harmony and things will just resolve themselves. Like if we sit with an emotion, we're seeking harmony, it will resolve itself. If we sit with a physical illness, it will resolve itself and we move towards harmony. So there's like that level of trust. But there is this other thing too of compounded habitual patterns, right? So when I remember when my Tibetan Buddhist, one of my Tibetan Buddhist teachers said, life is like a snake in a bamboo pole. There isn't really just like hanging out. I'll just like coast here for a while. We're either making a concerted effort every day to evolve as human beings, or if we think we're just kind of hanging out here, we're actually going down because the gravity of the habitual patterns over many lifetimes. And if you think about think of like elderly couples. We've all met the elderly couple that like gets more crunched and more crunched and more crunched in their habitual patterns. And then they start bickering. They start yelling at their wife or husband and like, right? And then you've seen those like rare elderly beings who are just like more wild and more free and more open and more soft and more generous and more beautiful and more loving. So we see those two paths.
Yeah.
And so just to mention, like, why flower essences? It's because they speed up personal growth. So in my experience, I've noticed that the normal amount of personal growth we go through in about 6 months, it happens faster, like in 1 to 2 months. So it's like removing anything that's not coherent, just in the same way that the light is like canceling the spiky blue waves. Like all of these tools, along with the flower essences, it's like, how do we remove the obstacles and bring in more harmonics so we can accelerate our personal growth and healing of ourselves. Okay, the fire horse year. The fire horse year is popping off. Do you guys feel that right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love you too, Josh.
Thank you so much for being here, whoever's here. Oh my gosh, Josh is here. Look at that. I love Josh. Oh my gosh, he's such a great man. The fire horse year, it's really ramping up now. I think in a couple months, people will all start to feel more settled into this higher speed. It's like we went from like a VW bug to We went from a snake to a charging forward horse. So we went from like this VW bug to like a Ferrari. And right now is when we're really starting to get into gear, and it's like a little bit of a clunk. So like a lot of us might be feeling, whoa, how do I acclimate myself to this really fast speed and all these opportunities coming in? How do I focus on the priorities? How do I not burn myself out? Because things are moving really fast and expansively. So the best tips I would give for Fire Horse year are, as much as possible, try to focus on 1, 2, or 3 priorities. If we get too scattered and too diffuse and too many things going on, we lose power. And then also this year, to pamper yourselves. I don't even like the word pamper, but it's like you got to do it. Like if it's I'm going every week for a foot massage, whatever it is for you, if it's acupuncture, if it's laying in the sun, if it's going to the beach, if it's what seems indulgent for your system, and really just letting yourself do that more often, because there is no water element this year. So we need that extra nourishment and taking care of ourselves. And then there's more. We could go into more, but you can visit the website and just search Fire Horse Year, and there's like a whole long recording of all the things that are happening this year. And then in terms of feng shui, as you guys know, is like when you pull your natal chart in your astrology, and you get that precise blueprint of you. So your house has that, or your business has that, whatever space you're operating has a blueprint based on the year it was built. So it's like the year it was born, and the precise degree of the front door or the entrance that you're using. So in feng shui, you're looking at also what year you were born and what your elemental makeup is. So somebody in the chat asked, what does it mean there's no water element this year? It's like the way that the Chinese system is formulated, there are different elements in different arrangements, right? So the 5 elements. And what it means when there's no water is it's like everything's going on high RPMs. We're moving really fast. We're accomplishing a lot. Opportunities will come in for people this year that have not come in for decades. So it's like, you want to seize the moment, but at the same time, you're like so in the seizing that you're kind of burning yourself out. So for imagine like come to a place like Phoenix. Everybody can come and visit me in the desert. We also have very little water and wood element here. So if you want to know what that feels like, you just go to the desert. There's very little water and wood. There's little nourishment. You're not going to like crawl on a nice moss and like soak in the nourishment. It's more like burning stuff out of you. So that's like a whole year of that. And then in terms of how that relates to your space, you have a certain elemental makeup from when you were born, plus your space has an elemental makeup from when it was born. And then you in your space, you're overlaying different templates. And feng shui is a way to maximize all of the positive strengths and qualities of your space and you to create perfect harmony, health, and wealth, and minimize whatever it is in your space that just simply by its blueprint, by its natal chart, has a funky element, So like, I'm trying to think of an example. Oh, and then it's like every year something shifts and changes too. So I'm actually in the podcast room and I'm looking at a bucket that has a cure in it specifically for this year. So specifically for this year, coming in the South, there's a little bit of an illness aspect. So this is probably getting into like way too much detail, but it's a form of maximizing the superpowers of you in your life and in your environment and in the house that you're living in. Sometimes we just like feel something's a little funky or off in our space. Like if we just tweak something ever so slightly, everything could fall into place in our life. So it's like, it's maximizing the blueprint so that whatever is projected in your life, not just now, but the whole legacy and trajectory of your life, is like pointing you in a direction of perfect health, harmony, excellent relationships, and wealth and impact in a positive way in the world.
Thank you. Yeah, I have I'll give you an example. So Mila and I have been working with your team on our house, and when I got there,
Hi, Andy.
hey Andy, when we moved into our house, I set up my desk, my work desk, in the living room because I wanted to keep the front room, which has our sauna and some of our healing toys, and it's our front entry of our home, just more open. And so, in the course of the feng shui consultation, I realized and learned that not only was my desk set up in my identity palace, but the way I was sitting at my desk, I was facing east, which for my gua, like my essence, is my direction of trials and tribulations. So that's where I'm like hours and hours and hours a day. So that I felt energetically, what but like it just seemed mentally, it seemed like a good place to put it. So I was recommended to move it into the front room, into the western walls. I'm not in my identity palace anymore. And then now I'm facing west, which is my direction of stability. And I tried my desk in like three different places in the living room, and then I moved it over there. So we did all this right in the afternoon when we got the recommendation. And immediately it was like this sigh. I had this like sigh, and you could just feel it in the house, in the living room, and where I'm working. Like it's a huge difference, and it doesn't seem like much. I thought it would be too tight in there, too cramped. I'm not on the southern exposure. There's less light. But now I'm energetically, my business, working at the computer is like separated, from the hangout space of the house. And then the other thing with the direction, it was such a subtle change and also really, really significant, really felt immediately. It was really, so that like blew my mind. And that was just one of a number of subtle and really seismic changes that we've incorporated with the help of your amazing team.
Yeah, and when we went to visit Alive and Well, their Dallas location when it opened, that's what actually we felt in the space. Well, there's something really special about the way this is curated. And Liz told us, oh, yeah, well, have you heard of Lotus? We were like, oh, yeah, I love these products. Well, they have a team. And so that's where it started. And I intuitively knew this was like 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. It was like, we're going to do that. Like, we've got to do that at some point. So when we met you, we were like, okay, tell us about the feng shui. We just moved into this house, and yeah, it's been incredible. So if anyone is interested in like diving deeper into this world, it's fascinating and it's transformative. And also like utilizing the flower essences, whether you go the feng shui route or not, like this has been such a powerful tool, this powerful like addition to our lifestyle. And we're big believers and utilize it all the time. And I also wanted to mention we are having a Memorial Day sale going on right now. It's 10% off site wide. And since you guys listen through the end, this will also be posted on both accounts. Uh, you also may use Katie's code, the Lotus Ways code, for an additional 10% off of the site wide sale. So that code is it just Lotus Way?
I think so.
Yeah.
The code is Lotus Way, one word, and that will get you another 10% off what's going on.
Oh,
Right.
you guys are so generous. Thank you. So awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so grateful for the time you've spent here. You and your mission has been such a powerful tool for bringing coherence into our lives and to so many people's lives. Like I was just recording not too long ago with Josh, Wellness and Wisdom. Thank you for joining. And I got there and I was so excited about the flower essences that I brought one. And he's like, "Oh, dude, you have no idea. I'm all over it. Like and he had it all over his studio. So
Yeah, he said, oh yeah, I had Katie on the podcast.
yeah, there's beautiful alignment. It's really such a powerful and safe and subtle tool that I just can't recommend it any more highly than I already do. So thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything else you'd like to share before we're done?
Mm. I'm so grateful for this collaboration. And as I'm leaving in a month for Taiwan and Singapore, And we're starting a second business in Singapore. And so I just got the download from a friend of like all the things that have happened in Singapore since we were there last. And it's just, I think, are you guys selling in Singapore?
Yeah, we
You
should.
are?
Why, including Singapore.
Okay, that's great because I think, yeah, my brain is just going in directions of like we should create spaces together and create like touch points, where people can have access to light and flowers. Um,
Mm, yeah,
so
I'm all
Love
we should
that.
talk
I'm
further
all
on
in for that. Count me in.
that.
Wow, amazing.
Uh,
Okay, well, that was a big bomb you just dropped. Well, it's gonna
flower
take
bomb.
Tucker to
Bomb.
a minute to process that. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes,
You're
Thank you.
so amazing, beautiful. You're such a high vibrational light being. And everybody check out Lotus Way and SaunaSpace when you get a chance.
So fun to hang out with you guys. And yeah, the lights, if you're from my crowd and you're watching this video, the lights are phenomenal. It's so easy to set up, and you can just like place it close to you, close to your computer. It's a game changer. I can't tell you, like for when we're doing editing on the computer for like 12, 14 hours a day, and we're just so into it and immersed, and then your eyes are so, this is like a total game changer. It's life restoring, vitality restoring game changer. And I know that there's so much that you put into this technology, Brian, that is otherworldly that maybe you don't tell everyone, but I can vouch that what you guys are up to is so profound and so healing, and we really appreciate your offering to the world. And I know there's so many business decisions you've made along the way to stay in ultimate integrity that maybe you don't brag about, but you guys are the real deal, and I really appreciate your collaboration. Thank you.
Wow, we love you too.
Yes.
Amazing, thank you.
We love you. We love your team, and so excited for what's to come with future collaborations.
Yeah,
We'll talk again soon.
You
amazing.
guys have a great weekend.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.